All right. Nobody?
Prof, I did.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Doctor, should we answer too?
No.
No, don't answer. Those that are taking my Azure class should not answer. All right. Okay. So so the thing is that the exercise that I want to do with you in this class today is very basic, you know. But it's going to help you have an understanding to talk about Azure. Remember, in an interview, most of the time, except the role is an Azure role, which you should not be applying for an Azure role right now because you don't have that. But if you have any role that has some Microsoft Azure requirements on it, this class will help you really understand that. You can take down your notes and be able to answer a couple of questions. We'll talk about it during an interview. So there is a certification which is not part of the retiring certification that Microsoft offers. It's called AZ90, very easy certification called Microsoft Azure Fundamental Exam. So these fundamentals I give out here will actually help you get past that exam. And the exam is $99. So let me get this slideshow to start. Slideshow. Nope, that's not what I want. Keep it here. And let's say slideshow. Why can't you just show me on this screen?
Doctor, I believe that even if this certification one retired, they're still planning to make some modification about the contest. I think like that's what Microsoft is having. So we may like maybe.
Yeah, it's just that they don't have right now. They don't have a replacement right now. What they plan to do. Anyway, this is not working, so I'm just going to leave it like this.
Sir.
Yes, please.
While you're going through this thing, please let me ask you a question. When you have that free subscription and it expires, if you want to subscribe again, are you to use a different account or can you use that same account?
It will not work. Microsoft is smarter than you on that. They track down the credit card that you use, it linked to your social security number. They will know. So
Doctor, you work. I've done it maybe 6 times, so it still works.
It still works.
But you create another email. I just create like a new email. You can use the same credit card, same phone number. It's still gonna work. Just create like a new email. Like today, a new one just for this class.
You tried this over and over and over in class. It didn't work.
Like me, the one I'm using. I'm planning to use one for this class. I just created not even 30 minutes ago.
You'll probably show us because we've actually tried.
Yeah.
And it did not work for us.
Bryce always have access to things that others cannot access it.
Okay. All right.
As a hacker, so yeah.
Bryce should be an ethical hacker. Okay. So the certification is $100. If you want to take it, it's like it says, this exam measures your ability to understand the following concept: cloud concept, core Azure services, security, privacy, compliance, trust, and Azure pricing and support. It's a very simple exam. You know, it's not really a required exam, but if you feel like you want to start, you can start with it from there. Okay, so now let's talk about cloud concept, principles of cloud computing. What is it all about? What is cloud computing? When someone comes up to you and say cloud computing, I want to explain this by using examples. The first example I'm going to use is electricity. When you move into a new house, what you do is, the first thing you do is you call the electricity company and you sign up for electricity, right? When you sign up for the electricity, that electricity becomes a service for you. You only pay for what you use. If you switch off your bulbs, everything, probably the only cost that will come into you will be the meter that is charged you, service charges, not consumption charges, which means you don't care about where the electricity is coming from. Which grid is it being transported to? Is it from a solar panel, from a hydroelectric dam, a nuclear power station, or wherever? You don't care about that. You don't care about the repairs. You don't care about whatever maintenance that the electricity company will do. You don't care about what is happening with the economy, whether the electricity company is losing money or not. All you pay for is what you use. right? So it becomes a service for you. That's paying for electricity as a service. You manage it, whether the city is expanding and the electricity company have to do some upgrades. That is not your business. All you pay is what you've used. You paid. That's one example. A second example is a hotel. When you book a room in a hotel, you don't care about where the food is coming from in the kitchen. You don't care about who washes the bed sheets, which soap they use, where the water is coming from. All you pay is that night to spend a night in that hotel and you leave. So you pay for that. Your night in the hotel becomes a service for you. You are paying just to use it. So this is a concept of pay as you go. You pay for what you use only. So that's already the concept of cloud computing. Now, if we translate these into the IT field, how does that actually work? As a professional, it's nice to have the same benefit when you are doing development and deployment. For example, storing data, streaming video, or even hosting a website all requires you to do hardware maintenance, hardware and software maintenance. It requires that you're going to take care of the servers, the lease replacement, upgrading, and all those kinds of things, right? So this management becomes really an obstacle if you are trying to build a small company and you don't have the budget to buy the servers, to get to hire the people to work on those servers, and all those kinds of things that comes around getting a whole IT infrastructure up and running. Now, but there comes cloud computing, where you can literally come in there and only pay for your computing time. You don't care about what is happening there. You literally pay just for the service that they're offering for you. What is the service? I'm just paying to use a VM. I just want a virtual machine that's going to run for 2 hours because I have developed a code and I want to test how this code is working. I don't know how this code will function. So I don't know whether this is a good business idea or not. There is no reason to rush and start buying things when I don't even know whether this will materialize into a business idea. So I'm paying just for the service to use that. That becomes what we call a service. And Microsoft Azure is literally just that. That's what cloud computing is all about. You pay for a service that you use, and if you don't use it, you don't pay for it. Right? So that's what, and this is what has revolutionized the IT world. Right now, you can see companies popping up left and right. You have startup left and right. You can literally start a business company today with $5,000. In the past, that was not going to be possible because just a server alone would take all that money. But today, with $5,000, you are good in IT. You can do some programming. You sit in one afternoon, you do some coding, you test a couple of things, build an application. You want to see how it works. You go to these cloud computing companies, you buy the services, maybe a VM server, and you deploy your code and you test it. And you can now develop your business. If it really gets to materialize, now you can now start getting into spending more money on that. So what is cloud computing? So cloud computing just simply means renting resources, right? You basically rent resources. When we talk about cloud computing, most people will feel like there are computers hanging in the cloud, right? No, it's the same data center that you find when you are working on-prem. It's the same data center when you are doing it in the cloud. The only difference is that that data center is not owned by you. It's owned by Microsoft, and it can be sitting anywhere in the world. Microsoft has about 54 different data centers all over the world. So you can literally sit here and you deploy your code somewhere in South Africa. Let's say you live in US and you have all your business partners in South Africa. You're developing an application for partners in South Africa. You don't want them to be testing on your server sitting here in the US. You can literally deploy that code directly in South Africa and your users will test it on one of the Microsoft data centers. That's what it's all about. So you only pay for what you use. The company that provides these services for you is called cloud providers. And we have a lot of cloud providers nowadays. Microsoft, Amazon, Google, IBM, these are the top. But there are so many other cloud providers out there. You have Dropbox. You guys know about Dropbox and all those things. Those are all cloud providers. You know, so you literally go there and you buy for the resource that you need. You rent the resource. And when you don't need it, you give it back to them. So the cloud provider is responsible for the physical hardware maintenance, and all they do is to make sure that your job runs, and they take care of up-to-date maintenance and all updates on that server. So you don't care about that, right? So the computing, so what they do is that they take care of the power, the compute power, the storage, the network, and all analytics that happens on that server. That is not your responsibility. But when you run it on-prem, this is purely your responsibility. You have to take care of all that by yourself. Guys, give me a moment, please. Honestly, this working from home is really hard, man. All right, cool. So I was talking about the cloud computing services, right? So the goal of every cloud computing provider is to make running a business much easier and efficient. So they provide all these services for you. Now, when you look at all that, now if I break it down into multiple steps, now look at compute power, for example. So when you send an email, for example, or book a reservation on an internet, or pay your bill, or whatever you do, what are you doing? You're interacting with a cloud-based server, right? That processes those requests that you are sending and sends back a response to you, right? So we have been using cloud computing for so long without even noticing. Gmail, how long have you guys been using Gmail? Just think about it. But your emails are still there. When you go to Gmail, I still have my emails on Gmail since the day my Gmail was created. Where do they store all that? In the cloud for you. You can access that anywhere you go to, you can access that. Nowadays, you are using Office 365. You can write a document here, travel all the way back to Africa, log on, and have the same document without traveling with your laptop. All that is saved in the cloud, and it provides that for you. So all this computing power, it makes the job flexible, efficient, and less stressful for the user. So when we start going into cloud computing, you see that we're going to start talking about virtualization, right? Virtual machine, VMs. All of you in this class are dealing with VM. Just know, have in the back of your mind, when you go into cloud computing, anything you deploy as far as a server is concerned is going to be a virtual machine. Right now, you guys have just gone through a class where you actually deploy virtual machine, you spin up virtual machine. Now, you can literally look at that as if the virtual machine you have on your computer, if you had a way to, because you have a brother somewhere in the world that doesn't have enough money to buy a 16GB laptop, you can literally use your own laptop, put on your laptop, and he or she can have access to your laptop and spin up those VM on your laptop sitting here in the US. Practically, that is the concept of a cloud computing. Having people to access a resource that they don't have the capability to have it on their own, to have it on-premise. So when you always hear over the two technology, the cloud, on-premise. On-premise is what you do right now in front of you. The cloud is what you rent from the cloud provider. So virtualization, a virtual machine, it simply emulates a computer. I don't need to talk about virtual machines. You all know what is it. But the next thing that we really want to talk about is containers. That is the next level of IT, the next part in which everything is going in the IT field. Before, everything was physical boxes. Everything was on physical boxes. But now, with the involvement, the evolution in science and in the IT world, we've moved to virtual machine. The next thing that we're moving to are containers, right? So what is a container? Containers provide a consistent isolation execution of environment for application. What you see is that they are similar to VM, except that they don't require a guest operating system. For what you guys did here in this class of creating virtual machine, you create a virtual machine and you install a guest operating system. There was an operating system on it being isolated by the hypervisor layer from the host host machine. But with containers, you don't have that concept. Containers basically just sits on the host operating system. So you install the operating system just one, and you build just containers that tap into the host operating system directly, and that helps you to work on the code. Because sometimes in this class, you create virtual machines, and by the time you're running the fourth virtual machine, you are unable to run because the host doesn't have enough resources. But if those were containers, maybe one of the virtual machines is just sitting there not really using all the resources. And because you have already assigned it to that virtual machine, that resource is no longer available for others to use it. But in the container, that's not the case. So this allows the containers to start within seconds because there is no operating system to boot and initialize, right? So you can launch application in less than no time. And we also have, when you go further, you see that there is also the option of a serverless computing, where a serverless computing just lets you run a code. For example, a store procedure, you just have a code that it just runs. It doesn't need any operating system to run. And it's just a function that runs or gets triggered when a certain action happens. And that really helps a lot. But this is not applicable to everything. There's certain codes that you cannot work on it, but this is the direction in which the IT field is going into. So when you are trying to follow the path, this is the way you're looking in. You already know what cloud virtual machines are. You may want to look at containers, how you can provision containers, and look into things like that. Okay, now let me show you a typical example of a difference between a container and a virtual machine. Now, these are three different virtual machines. In a virtual machine, you have the physical hardware, the host with the host operating system being separated by a hypervisor layer. Guys, this call is so important. Hold on, please. Okay, so you have the operating system separated by a hypervisor layer that separates the host from the guest, which means that every single time you install a virtual machine, the virtual machine has its own operating system called the guest operating system, sitting on a virtual hardware that emulates this physical hardware. This is how virtual machine works, which means that you can literally have your application running on this and they are independent from one another. But the thing is because it has its own guest operating system, it needs its own resources, which needs to be provisioned by the host. So once the host runs out of resources, if one of these virtual machines has taken all the resources, you can no longer deploy more applications because it no longer has it. But now, if you take it in the direction of, I'm not sharing my screen.
No, you're not sharing, sir.
No, you were sharing, but you had a different note on it.
This is what I'm sharing, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, I don't know what I was sharing actually. Sorry about that. Okay, so now when you move into containers, now look at the difference between a virtual machine and a container. Everything starts with a physical hardware, just like a virtual machine. You have also the operating system. Now, instead of a hypervisor layer that separates the host from the guest, you have what is called a container engine. It's just a runtime engine. And the applications, the containers just tap into the host operating system directly. So if you have this container one, so there is no resource being allocated to any of these containers. Whenever they need it, they tap directly into the source. It's like you get a bucket. I don't know whether you guys have ever gone to this. Back in school, we had these crazy parties where we have a whole bowl of drinks and everybody drinks from have a straw and you drink from the same bowl. You know, that's a system with container. And then if you compare that with, instead of everybody drinking the same bowl of alcohol, you have everyone separated and you have your own cup and you drink from your cup, right? So containers work like that. They tap into the same resources, which means that any application that is idle will not have any resources hostage, will not hold any resources, and any other container can use the available resources at that moment. But then, so that's the difference between a container and a virtual machine. Now you have the serverless servers, which actually just have a physical hardware, the host operating system, and you have just what is called a serverless runtime, where you can just have a function running directly. There is no application, it's just a function. Gets triggered whenever something happens. Let's say, for example, you deploy an application that gets triggered whenever someone deposits money into your bank. The bank sends out a notification, this amount of money has been deposited. You don't need a server for all that. It's just a function. It works most like a trigger. It triggers directly without necessarily having a whole operating system that works on it. Those are the differences, and that's the direction the IT is going in. If you want to stay longer in this field, you've got to start learning these kinds of things. Have this in the back of your mind as you go into this field. Okay, now storage, right? When we talk about storage, so most devices and applications do a read and write transaction. So here's some examples. So if you're buying a ticket online, you're looking up a price online, you're taking a picture, you're sending an email, leaving a voicemail, all that require you to have some amount of storage. That information is stored, you know. And when you have all these on-prems, you need to provision this storage to be able to take care of that. Now, in order, so for this to actually work, the type of data and how it's stored can be different in all kinds of scenarios. For example, cloud provider offers services that can handle all these types of data. If you want to store a text message, a movie, or what kind of data, they can store that for you. Right? So the advantage of using this cloud-based storage is that you can scale when need be. Let's say, for example, you decide you buy a server today, and that server just has about 1,000 gigabytes because you feel like, okay, my business is not so big. I don't really think that I'm going to load so many pictures that will take more than that. And because the thing you're doing is so good, business start expanding and you need more space. What are you going to do with that server? There's only one thing you can do. There's only two things. It's either you upgrade the server and increase the space by buying extra hardware, or you just buy a new server that has a higher capacity. What does that mean? That comes in with extra costs for you that you did not plan for. Meanwhile, if you had that in a cloud-based environment and it has to do with storage, the moment business needs more, you just expand based on elasticity. Cloud providers comes in what is called elasticity. Things can expand and contract based on need. And those are the flexibility that comes in with all these kinds of things. All right. So this is a summary of what we can talk about. So every business has a different need and requirement. So cloud computing are flexible, they're cost effective, which can be beneficial to every business, whether it's a startup or a large organization. Now let's move on. What are the benefits actually of this cloud computing? One, it's cost effective. Yes, there's no upfront cost available. Like I said, you can spin up a business nowadays with $5,000. You can start a new business. You don't need to purchase and manage costly infrastructure that you may not even need to use to its fullest capacity. Right? So the ability to pay for additional resources only when they are needed. You don't have to pay for it. And the ability to stop paying for these resources when they are no longer needed. That scalability function of it, right? That comes along with the cost effectiveness. So it can increase and decrease. And you have what is called vertical scaling and horizontal scaling. What does the vertical scaling mean? A vertical scaling just simply means that you can scale up in the process of adding resources to increase the power of an existing server. For example, you can scale up by increasing CPU, memory, and so on. That's scaling up. Or horizontal scaling just simply means that if you have, for example, 16 gigabytes of RAM, and you decide to scale up, you can increase that RAM to 32. But scaling out just simply means that, okay, I have one server that is 16 gigs. If I need more, I'm just going to buy another server that is another 16 gigs. We are scaling horizontally, still arriving at the same capacity, but doing different level of scaling, you know? So So these are some of the benefits that come in when you're dealing with cloud computing. It's elastic. I talked about the fact that it's elastic. It can expand and contract when you need it. And it's current. You're always going to have the most up-to-date data. You don't need to care about maintenance. Microsoft or whatever cloud provider will make sure that you have the most up-to-date information or most up-to-date software. So you know that you're always dealing with the most up-to-date software. It is reliable. Yes, when you're running a business, you want to make sure everything is always reliable. So it's reliable. They provide you, most of them provide you backup, automatic backup and disaster recovery. You don't even need to care about all the backup and restore. They will do that for you. They offer you what is called redundancy, which means that every single time you write a data in Azure, that data is written multiple times in multiple locations, meaning that it's quite difficult for that to really, for something to happen and you lose all your data. Right? It's global. Like I said, you can deploy anywhere around the world and you can make good use of that by expanding your business to other parts of the world that you never dreamed of. It's secure. Cloud computing is one of the most secured locations to store your information. Most companies right now are still scared of that. They're still talking about the security of it. How secure is this? Are you sure this is really secure? Yes. In most of these cloud providers, you don't even have a physical entry into the building, right? So every single individual that gets in there gets control. There is access control in building. Yeah, you can. There's limitation. Who can access the server room? Who can operate the server rack? So Microsoft data centers offer you digital security, and that gives you the option to know who connects to your data over your network. So they really put a lot of security into it, making sure that your data is very, very protected. You know, there's so many different levels of protection that you have to go through if you really have to breach into that. And I haven't really heard any time that Microsoft data centers has been breached. Well, all this is not really important. This compliance for this class right now, so I'm going to skip this one. I'm going to talk about this. Economic of scale. Economic of scale. So economy of scale is the ability to do things more efficiently at a lower cost per unit when operating at large scale. Why is it cheaper? It's cheaper for you because Microsoft uses the concept of economy of scale to lower the prices for you. Right? So the cost advantage of an important of cloud computing is that because of that, because they have so many clients, they can lower the cost for you and have you use software that on your own you will not have been able to buy it because they're too expensive. So they also have deals with local government and utility companies that helps you save on costs, or also you can also get tax advantage on that. So this lower the price of cooling, also the speed of the network connectivity between the different sites that you're connecting to. Now, there's something that you need to think about here when you're talking about cloud computing. These two terminology, CapEx computing costs and there's CapEx and which one again? There's OpEx, right? CapEx. What does this mean? So CapEx, this is capital expenditure. It's a capital expenditure. So, and these are expenditures that come in, so that come in when you invest to have your hardware up and running. For example, you decide you want to build a new company. You have a brand new idea, you want to build a new company. There's automatically that CapEx expenditure, which means you need to buy servers. In the past, that's how it used to be. You have to acquire the physical servers to run on-prem. You need to get all the infrastructure, the cooling, to be able to grow so you already have a cost without even knowing whether you're going to make money out of this business idea or not. And if the business idea turned out to be really useless, that money is gone. So now, when you compare it with OpEx, which stands for operational expenditure, capital expenditure is CapEx, operational expenditure comes in as a result of operating on the business, which is what cloud computing actually tells you. They try as much as possible to eliminate this CapEx expenditure for you. You don't spend. You only spend to operate your business. So, and that limits some costs for you and helps you to be able to spin up business and try new ideas within a very short period of time. And you can read a little bit more on this, for example, server costs and storage costs. On server costs, you have to buy hardware, you have to buy the servers, you need to replace the servers when they're old, and you also have to maintain the servers in case there's any problem. Those are CapEx expenditure, computing costs. For storage, you need to also buy storage, you need to increase the storage if you're running out of storage, and there are all these network, backup, and archiving costs, business continuity. All this comes in with CapEx expenditure, right? Also the personnel, you need to think about the people that are going to work on that. You need to pay them. The data center infrastructure, the building where the equipments are on, right? The renovation, the remodeling, all that, those are CapEx costs that you can avoid if you go in the cloud. All right, so with that said, now let's take a break or not. 5 more minutes and I'll I'll take a break. So let's look at the different types of cloud computing, model that exists out there. There are different types of cloud deployment model. The first one we're going to talk about is a public cloud, right? Public cloud, that's the most commonly deployed model that you know about it, right? So on a public cloud, you got no local hardware to manage or to keep up to date. There's a cost-effective since resources can be shared within other cloud users, right? Like Microsoft, Amazon Web Services, all those. Those are public clouds. You are not the only person using that. Anyone can create an account in Microsoft Azure and use that. So you share resources with other people. So you pay as you go. There is no CapEx cost available, and you are not responsible for maintaining an update of the hardware. That's the advantage of the public cloud. Now, the next deployment model that you would hear of is a private cloud. So you can create a cloud in your own data center and provide self-service access to compute resources to users within your organization. Let's say, for example, I had a way to create a data center here and have all of you log on directly instead of logging in directly on your computer and upgrading your computer to 16 gigs to be able to do everything you've done. If I had a way that I can create that and give you guys access to be able to use the server that I have in my data center, I'm providing you guys a private cloud where you guys can actually rent the resources that I have on-prem, on my cloud, private cloud. So they work just like a public cloud. It's just that it's within the organization. So some organizations could do that. Let's say, for example, you have organizations that have different units, and you don't want them to create different data centers per unit. You can create one and give them access to log onto that and use that. Right? So the advantages of this is what you can ensure the configuration. You can support any kind of legacy application that you can have. Because sometimes there are some legacy applications that do not have the right to be put in a public cloud. With a private cloud, you can use that. And any compliance or government regulations that come into place, you can have the advantage to use that with a private cloud. And the disadvantage is that you have some initial CapEx costs, right? Because if you're doing that, you have to buy the tools, and it comes in with costs. So those are some of the disadvantages. And if you need to scale it, you also need to invest some money to scale it. And you also need IT skills and to be able to operate that. So that comes in also as a disadvantage to you. Now, the last deployment model is the hybrid cloud. The hybrid cloud is just a combination of a public and a private cloud technology, right? Why will companies decide to have this? And this is where you as a DBA, if you want to go deep into this field, this is where you should put yourself in, because most companies, even in the next 10 years, there is no guarantee that every company will be in the cloud. Companies will still have a hybrid cloud. This is the most common model that you find out there. They still have some applications that they feel like, no, this is not too expensive. I think we can manage it on-prem, and this one is very critical. We should put it in the cloud. or some of them, because of government regulations, they cannot be placed in the public cloud, and they don't have enough money to set up a private cloud. For that reason, they will have to have a hybrid cloud. You know, so those are some of the different deployment model that you have when it comes to this. Now, the type of services that you hear when it comes to Microsoft Azure. I could be a little bit fast on this. I want you guys, after this, just watch the video and make a little bit of notes on what you really need to know about this, about Microsoft Azure to be able to talk about it. But this is some of the things that you hear all the time if you need to talk about it. For example, cloud services. What type of cloud services exist out there? You always hear of infrastructure as a service, IaaS. IaaS, IaaS. That's infrastructure as a service. What does it stand for? Infrastructure as a service, that's the most flexible category. Now, what does it mean is that you are literally renting virtual machines in the cloud, storage, network, but you still have some level of control of what you can do. You are in charge of that virtual machine. All installation on that virtual machine is done by you. All hardware maintenance, not hardware maintenance, sorry. If they have any SQL patching, you have to be the one to do that with an infrastructure as a service. So companies feel comfortable to do this because they don't have money to buy a virtual machine. They don't want to manage a virtual machine. They just want to have the virtual machine. So I'm going to come to our Microsoft Azure or to Amazon, just rent the virtual machine, and I will take care of everything. Right? So that is an infrastructure as a service. So, but the underlying infrastructure behind that virtual machine is not your responsibility. Microsoft manages that, whether there's a power station, power, cooling, and all that, making sure that the hardware is up to date, replacing decommissioning server, that is not your responsibility. All you need to do is, I've paid for a virtual machine and I want it running. And Microsoft offers you a high level of availability. If you go deep into the cloud, you see that Microsoft, there are certain scenarios where Microsoft even offers you 99.9, 12.9, or even 69 after the 99. That is less than 5 microseconds per year of downtime. So Microsoft is really highly available, and you can really make it. So reason why companies want to do this, migration workload, right? Manage in a similar way as an on-prem, because once you have this, it's the same like an on-prem. Just when we create a virtual machine at the end of this class, you will see it's the same like what you guys have been doing in this class. It's the same thing, but it's just that it's in the cloud and you don't have to pay for it on-prem. So it makes it easy to manage because they're already used to that. As just that the VM is sitting somewhere. For testing and deployment, you can quickly set up a virtual machine one afternoon, test your script, and then you delete it. You only pay for the time that the virtual machine was up and running, right? But if you have to do the same thing on-prem, you literally have to buy a virtual machine. And when you're done testing, what do you do with it? It's sitting there, not being used. That's cost, capital cost that you can avoid if you go in the cloud. Backup, storage, recovery, all this is taken care of for you if you set up the automatic backups, and they can easily handle that. The next cloud services that you hear of is platform as a service, PaaS, P-A-A-S, a platform as a service. So a platform as a service, in this case right now, if you are not comfortable managing those virtual machines, you just want your SQL Server. I don't want to know who patches this, when the backup being taken, when the hardware maintenance is done. All that, I don't want to care about that. I want just to have my database running in Azure. You go with what is called a platform as a service. And for today, we're going to do this too. We're going to do platform as a service, an example, and infrastructure as a service. So we're going to create a database that sits in Azure that does not have a physical server, a virtual machine, that we don't pay for it. We only pay to keep the database in Azure. And then we're also going to create another virtual machine that literally has just a VM, and we can do whatever I want to do with it. That's what I plan to do today with you guys. So platform as a service is well developed, good for web development, right? a web application guys can easily spin up a database, test their application, and have it working. And when they don't need it, they actually delete the resources and they only pay for what they use. And you can do a lot of work, development work. You can run analytics or business intelligence using platform as a service. And there's so many other technologies that you can use it. All I want you to know in this one are the type of cloud infrastructure. You have platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, and the last one that we're going to talk about is software as a service. Who can tell me an example of software as a service? Excluding those who are taking my Azure class. Who can tell me an example of a software as a service nowadays? It's even standing right in front of me. You guys could not even read. Office 365. Office 365. Right now, Office 365, you have to pay for a monthly subscription for those who are using that. So Microsoft actually hosts that. So if you are using Office 365, you don't care about the database where the data gets stored. You don't care about which VMs run the Office 365. All you care about is that software. When I need it, I want to have it running. For example, look here, for example. Now, this is an Office 365. I'm logged into my account. I can literally just open it and I'm connected directly to Azure. And they keep the data for me. And that's why you can access it. Once you use Office 365, you can use it anywhere. Skype, right? Dynamic CRM online, all that. Salesforce, all those things. Those are examples of software as a service. You literally just pay to use the software. That's all. You don't care about whoever manages that. You only pay to use the software. So these are the different cloud deployment models, cloud services that you have in Azure. And I'm going to skip this one. Okay, this slide is good. This shows you the level of responsibility you have when it comes to Microsoft's Azure services that you have. So on-premise, if you have an on-premises data center, you take care of the applications, you manage the application, the data that runs on it, the middleware, the operating system, the virtualization, server, storage, and network. All this is taken care by you. You take care of that because you run it on-prem. So you are in charge of all that. Now, if I decide I need to move this to the cloud, and I decide I want to buy, instead I want to sign up for infrastructure as a service, now see the level of responsibility that I have. Networking is taken care by Microsoft, the storage, the server, and the virtualization is taken care by Microsoft. But I'm in charge of the operating system, the data, the application, the runtime, and all the middleware. All that is my responsibility. But if I decide that, oh, I don't really want to have this multiple responsibility, I want to only go for platform as a service. Now, the level of responsibility reduces, and all you need to know is the application and the data. And if you decide you want to go for software as a service, Microsoft takes care of all this, or you don't manage anything, you barely pay for that application that you're using. So this is all the different model that Microsoft offers, and it tells you the difference between all of them and what level of responsibility you have. Okay, so at this point here, I'm going to stop here. I'll have a break, and after break, if anybody wants to create a free Microsoft account to practice what I'm doing here, do it. Otherwise, you can watch what I'm doing and learn from it. But before we leave for break, I just want to let you know that when you create a Microsoft free account, it's free for 12 months with a credit of $200. You have to put your credit card online. It's for credit of $200, and it's only valid for 30 days to access the platform. And after that, the account is still valid, but there's so many things that you can no longer do once the account is expired. So there are two things that can happen. Either you use up the $200 too fast, or you run out of time. All right? So we can create an account and go ahead and try to create a couple of examples. All right, let's take a break. Let's come back at exactly 9:50, please. before we go on, any question? Okay. So the first deployment that we're going to talk about today will be platform as a service. Like I mentioned, we're going to do platform as a service and infrastructure as a service. So what I'm planning to do right now is I'm planning to create a virtual a database in Azure and literally create another database on-premise and move the database from on-premise to the Azure, right? And then I'll also create elastic pool and place some databases on that elastic pool and delete some databases, show you how easy it is to do restore of databases in Azure and how you can also restore them back on-premise. And if I still have some time today, I will show you how to create a virtual machine in Azure. I don't think I will have that much time, but let's see how it goes. All right. Is there anyone doing along with me, or so that I can be slow, or you guys just want to watch?
I want to follow you.
We are doing.
Okay. So you have Galabe has an account, Bryce has an account. Who else? Nobody? Okay. All right. So you can go online if you have not yet downloaded portal.azure.com. You can literally go online and you type portal.azure.com. Right? This takes you to the Azure portal and you can sign in to the cloud. So let me actually get this because I'm no longer working here, so it's not here anymore. All right. Okay. So I have my Azure account that I'm going to log on. So Microsoft account. So I click on it and I log on. So I provide a password and log on. This is if you want to do it via the portal, the internet portal. Right? This is how the portal look like. But you also have this option. You can actually download the portal and use it to have the portal. So I can launch the portal directly from here. This is the portal, that's a symbol. And it's the same concept. It pops up Microsoft Azure portal where I can literally just provide the account and log on.
What is the name of this software? This software called the one you downloaded, you installed?
Portal, Microsoft Portal. You can just go online. I can go here and type download Microsoft Portal, Azure Portal, Microsoft Azure Portal. Right, app. You have this one. This is it, Microsoft Azure Portal. And you can go down, I think at the bottom of it, you can do a download here, download. Nope, this is wrong. Download portal. It's taking me directly to the portal. I wanted to get a way to download it.
Anyway, later you can still find a
you can do that.
one half time.
Yeah, you can do that. You can download the portal. Okay, this is Azure mobile app. You can download the portal and use it for yourself, right? It's important to use the portal. It's nice. I use it all the time. Okay. No, so once you log on your portal, there are a couple of things that you will need to look at. You have the resources. When you click on all resources, everything you create in Azure is called a resource. If you're creating a database, you're creating a database, you are creating storage, network, all those things are called VMs. They're called database portal resources. So if you click on resources, if you have any resource, you have it here. One thing that you guys want to know about this, if you plan to play with it, is that Azure is very expensive. So you've got to be very, very careful. To show you an example, this is my bill for this current month of March. You see, before I stopped deleting, I was not deleting the resources. I was expecting to spend roughly $4,000 in that month. So but you see, I'm already almost at $400 for the month of March only. This is how this was my curve. This is how it was going up, you know. So this is the last month of February. So if I check this month of March, you see my bill for the month of March is roughly right now at about $340. You see, this is where it stopped. I stopped it. At this moment, this is the way it was going up, and I stopped deleting the resources here. So whenever you use the resource in Azure, always make sure you delete them, they'll cost you a lot of money. It can really cost you. This thing can run you bankrupt, huh? So you have to be very careful. So okay, so we have those resources. Here, this is the property window. It has an overview. Every single time you create the resources, it always appears here in the property window. You have the overview, and anything that you can do with that will be found on this property window. Just like on-prem, where you right-click on database and you select, go down the property and you see something. This here, everything as a property will appear on this property window. Back again, home. So on home, you have the subscription. I'm using pay-as-you-go subscription. You have what is called here. This is the notification tab. So whenever you deploy something in Azure, it shows up here on the notification tab. You have here this window here, this search here. This is the marketplace. Azure has a marketplace. It's just like Amazon. You can go to Amazon and buy anything. Not all the products that are here are offered by Microsoft. So you have also external vendors that offers their product on Microsoft. So if you need anything on the marketplace, you go up here and search for what you're looking for. You have this plus sign here that says create a resource. Whenever you click create a resource, it takes you to this window here. That's the Azure Marketplace window. And it asks you, what type of resource do you want to create? Are you creating a database, a container, a compute power, analytics, networking, security, storage, web, whatever you want to create comes out here. So for today, we're going to start off with the first resource, which is just creating a Microsoft Azure database, which falls under a platform as a service. So if you click on, let's go back. If I click on create a resource, and I have this, so I'm going to select databases. And when you select databases, all the different types of databases they have in Azure pops up here. You have Azure SQL Managed Instance. This is the most expensive database instance that you have. This can run you dry in less than no time. You have a SQL database, which is what we want to create, but you have other options. You have Azure Synapse Analytics for data warehouse. You have Azure for MariaDB, MySQL, Postgres, Cosmos DB. You have a SQL Server 2016 Enterprise Windows Server. You can also create that on that and so on. So what you need to see here is that for all other relational database management system, you can also create a database for that. But for here, I just want to create a SQL database. So let's go back again. I am here. I click on create resource, and I select databases, and I'm going to select SQL database. So I'm going to call this SQL database. Okay, so this window opens, right? Now you have what is called a resource group. What is a resource group? A resource group is just a container that holds all your resources. Good thing with Azure is that whenever you don't know something, you put your mouse here, it tells you. Because this is a brand new program that just came out 10 years ago. So a lot of people are still learning it. So there's a lot of explanation. So a resource group is a collection of resources that share the same life cycle, permission, and policies. So there are a lot of things that you can do with a resource group. It just means you're keeping something inside that container, and whatever policy you apply on that container, everyone sitting in there gets the same policy. It's just like, if you look at it like a group back when we're doing Active Directory, whatever permission you give to the group, when you add members to that group, those members inherit the permission from the group. Right? So for a resource group, just hold all the resources that you have on that, and whatever permission you set on that resource group, everybody inherits that. So for this class, I'm just going to create a resource group. I don't have one, so I can select the ones that are already there. I have a couple of them created, but for now, I'm just going to create a new resource group. And I'm going to call this resource group webinar, because it's a Tuesday webinar. So I'll call it Tuesday webinar. And naming conventions are very important in Azure. The one thing that you need to know in Azure is that you do a lot of naming, a lot. You need to name a lot of things. So try to be consistent in the naming convention. Most resource group will end with RG, which stands for a resource group. So whatever you name, make sure it ends with RG. So we have it like that. And now the database name, you're creating a database, right? So what database do we want to create for this? So I'm going to just call it Tuesday. Let me just call it webinar DB, right? Just creating a webinar database. And look, server, select a server. It is an Azure database, but a database doesn't sit in the air. A database sits on a server. So you are, even though you are not paying for the server, right? You are paying for the database, but Microsoft has to put it on a server. So we are going to create a server where this database sits on. And once you have a server created, you can add multiple databases on that server. But literally, in this case here, the server is there, but you don't take care of the server because you are creating a Microsoft Azure database, which is just a platform of service, and you don't care about the underlying infrastructure. So the server, we go ahead and create a server. Server names are unique, so you guys cannot use the same server name I'm going to put here. I'll prefer you use your last name if you're doing it to create the server. So I'm just going to call this server here, Kerry Server 001. Right? And server names cannot, it has to be underscore. There's so many things in Azure. Whenever you have a DNS entries for anything in Azure, it goes with underscore only. So this, all of them are underscore. And you see that once you create this server, eventually it takes the DNS name, Kerry Server 001.database.windows.net. That is a fully qualified name. Whenever you hear in IT world a fully qualified name, if you are given a fully qualified name, you need to give this completely, not just this name. Right? So this will be the full name. And I need to provide a server admin for that account. An account and a server admin. And I'm just going to call it a cluster admin account that we know. Cluster admin account. And the password has to respect password policy with up to 15 characters. Right? So I'll use kiawitech.com 2020 exclamation mark. K being capital. kiawitech.com 2020 exclamation mark. kiawitech.com 2020 exclamation mark. All right, and now Microsoft asks you, where do you want to deploy this? And before I continue, let me show you guys something that I did not show you during the introduction class, which is Azure regions. What are the different Azure regions? Azure data centers location in the world. Where are all the Azure data center locations in the world? Azure locations. I'll just see if I have a picture about that. Feature regions, no. Overview. Here, good. These are all the different data centers that Microsoft offers for you. All right, so you see they have roughly 50. Oh, they just added it. When I started doing this, it was 54. So now there are 58 Azure regions in the world. They have more regions than any cloud provider in the whole world. Amazon Web Services started all this. So Microsoft is literally catching up after Amazon started it. But they have now more data centers than any other place in the world. And here in the US, we have a couple of data centers that are reserved for the US government. For example, we have US government Arizona. You have another one here, Central Mexico, US government Texas also have. So all these FBI top secrets are saved on this US government location. Right? So you have US government Virginia, and also in other parts of the world, like in Europe, You have all these ones in China, Asia, Australia. Africa is gradually coming into this thing. We have 2 data centers in Africa. One is South Africa North and South Africa South. Really wonder when that continent will ever catch up with this IT world. But we need to speed up and get more data centers in here. South America has just 1 also. They're quite competitive with Africa. So you have all these data centers around the world. Now, why will Azure need to have all these different data centers? Let's say your clients are here in Australia. You cannot have an application here in US and your database is sitting somewhere in Australia because it has to make this move. So there will be a lot of latency on your network. So you want to deploy your application as close as possible to your database servers. So you have all this. You can deploy it anywhere. And there's the presence of the Cosmos database that you can deploy it and have it anywhere around the world. That's a very nice technology that you can use. So these are the different data centers. So when you are deploying any resource, Azure will require that you choose which data center you need to deploy this on. So we're back here. We need to select which location to choose. So I'm just going to choose South Central US, which is roughly where we are right now. This is the location I'm selecting, and I click OK. So we're here. The database is there. The server has been selected. Now, do you want to have an elastic pool? I'm going to say no for now. I'll come back to this later on. Now, compute and storage. This is where your money goes into. By default, Microsoft just selects the general purpose. There are so many different compute resources, groups, service tier that you can select from. You have the general purpose, the hyperscale, and the business critical. General purpose, hyperscale, business critical. Now let me go to the very small one. The very small one, you have the basic, standard, and premium tier. Now, if you select basic, you have what is called here DTU, data transaction unit, right? What is a DTU? Click on it, it will explain more to you. It's a measurement of the computing power that you are selecting. So a basic tier gives you about 5 DTUs with roughly 2 GB of storage, right? Cost per DTU is $1. It charges you $1, and because you're selecting 5, it's roughly going to cost you $4.99 per month. So this is how much they're going to charge you if you select this. But this is quite small. Now, if you go to standard, the standard begins at 10 DTU all the way to 3,000 DTU. So you can actually scroll this all the way. As you're scrolling, it's giving you the cost per month that this database will charge you. And here you see the storage that it gets. It's up to a terabyte, and the monthly price will be $4,500. If you go to premium, premium begins at a 125 DTU all the way to 4,000 DTUs. If you scroll all the way here, 4,000 DTU, we're roughly at $16,000 per month, and this has a maximum of 4 terabytes. So your monthly bill will be $16,000 if you select this. And then you can go higher on that. So for this exercise, I'm just going to go to the very basic one, the basic tier, because it's just for demo purposes, $5 per month, and I just apply. And it doesn't mean that I'm going to charge you $5 per month. If you leave it to run for an entire month, that's how much they're going to charge you. Next is networking. You need to configure network. You're creating a database. How can people access the database? Now, if you say no access, nobody can access the database. But I'm going to say public access because I want someone to be able to connect to the database. And here I will say allow Azure resources to connect to it so that I can take backups and also add client IP address. My client IP address, that's my home IP address, so that I can able to connect to this because I'm enabling this public endpoint. So I click yes. And the next one I need to do is additional settings, which is, no, previous, additional setting. Do you want an existing backup? If you select backup, if you had backup files, you can select them from here. But since I don't have it, there is none. You can select sample. If you take sample, Microsoft will just do this with the Adventure Work database for you. So let's go with sample for now. All right. Data security, I don't want to pay $15 a month for that, so I'm not going to use that. So tags, you can apply tags on Azure. These are just helping you to sort out things for you. Say, okay, this is a production server, and I want to have it in a production environment, I can do that. If I later on say, no, this is not a production, it's a a different type of environment, I can select different tags to that. But for now, I just want to say this is a production. You must not apply this tag, so you can leave this one empty. And we just review it, and it tells you everything looks well. This is going to be a monthly cost, and so on. This is what you are deploying, and you say,
Dr. Kawi, I have a question. Why is like on my? I don't know why my location does not want to take. Like,
which
is
location
that
you
okay?
selected?
No, when I was trying to when I'm creating like the new site, they create like a server.
Yeah, which location
I
are
don't
you?
know. No, I'm using like central. It said like this location is not available for subscription. I don't know why, but
Yeah,
that's fine. Let's just keep moving. Huh?
Yeah, I have the same issue, so I'm stuck on the same spot.
so that's something that I had a question from one of the groups that I'm in, and someone was actually asking that question. For a free account, I was able to create databases with a free account in Azure. I don't know why suddenly right now those locations no longer accept it. Can you try other locations?
I try anything. I try
Anything?
because I have a VPN on my computer. I thought it was because my VPN was on. So I like because when I browse, I don't like when people know where I like to be like in Austria, like everywhere around the world.
Try
I just
US East 2 location and see if it takes it.
Well, I've been trying everything on that list. It's not accepting it.
Doctor,
Yes.
yeah.
I think it's because they have the free subscription. The free subscription has some limitations.
No,
You remember?
one day, last time I did it this way, it was working, but I don't know why today.
It was not always.
Even myself, when I was doing it, it's supposed to work.
Yeah, I think Microsoft might have just changed it recently.
Yes.
That was not the case. We're able to create databases with a free subscription.
I remember we all did, but like we had that colleague who had that problem, and from someone's research, he said it's just something new that Microsoft has implemented, something of that sort. That when you're creating that database, that location is just grayed out when you're using the free subscription. I don't know, maybe it's something that is new.
Yeah, I need to look a little bit into that. Why? But I mean, that's really sad though. Microsoft cannot give you $200 and you cannot even create a simple database. Well, let's see later on when we're trying to create a VM if it will allow you to do that. So you see, my database is created. I have my database right now in Azure. So if I go back, so it means you guys can only watch for this first exercise. So if I go back to home and I click on resources, automatically I have a resource, right? Microsoft has created a resource, has been created for me, and it's a server and a database. It tells you here it's a SQL server and it's a SQL database. It tells you the resource group name, the location, the subscription that you have, all that good stuff. So right now, this server has been created. So if I click on the server, for example, now this is the property window that I talked about, right? You have the option here, Microsoft offers you the failover group. You can create a failover group and do a failover from one location to another. If you want to do that, you can do it. Backups, Microsoft by default, automatically, when you create a database, automatically a backup is taken. So the moment the database gets deployed, a backup is taken. And Microsoft uses their backup strategy goes with a full backup that gets taken when the database gets created. And then you have a weekly backup, 6 hours differential, and a 15-minute transactional. That's the SLA that Microsoft applied. But you don't have to schedule this backup. It's done automatic for you. Now, you can see here it says 7 days backup retention period. That's point in time recovery backup. So you can recover up to 7 days. Now, if you select this database and go on configure retention period, you can select how long you want to keep the backup. Microsoft for all standard, for basic, you can keep it for 7 days. For standard accounts, standard tiers, you can keep it up to 35 days. You also have the option to do long-term retention where you can keep it up to 10 years, maximum 10 years, you see, 1 to 10. That's if you do that. So I'm just going to change this retention period from 7 days to maybe 14 days and I apply. It says, yes, please. All right, it fails. Why? It fails because what I'm using here, this database is, let's go back. It's a basic tier. Where is it? Where is it? The tier. Oh, I'm not on the database. So database, you can see that this database is basic. So basic tier has a maximum retention period of 7 days. You can't go above that. If you want to go above that, you need to change this pricing tier to a higher pricing tier, and you can go above that. That's why that failed. But you see that you can change that. You can configure all that and look at it. So now this is a server that we just configured. This server has the database sitting on it. Now, if we want to connect to this database, all we need to do is click on the server, and you come here, you have the server name. There are these things in Azure that you click on it and it copies it for you. So you don't need to right click and say Control-V and Control-C. Here, you just click on it and it copies. So if you open SQL Server Management Studio right now on-prem, because you are allowed remote connection to that server, you can literally just say here, connect, put the server name, and make sure it's SQL Server Authentication, put the username and the password. Here we take .com 2020 exclamation mark. Connect. Bingo. And you automatically connect to an Azure database. And see the difference between an on-prem database instance and Azure database. All you see here is the database and security. All those features that you have here are not there because Microsoft tells me you don't need to manage that. We will take care of that for you. Right? We are the one to manage that. There's no option here to right click and say backup. Right? They are the one to manage that for you. So you only have this issue. And here, even at the level of system databases, you only have one system database, which is the master. And this master is even read only. You can't modify it compared to a regular data instance where you have all the system databases. With Azure, you have just one. And there's so many other differences that you can do that you are limited with Azure database. If you click here, expand this and expand database, you see that this is database that we created on that server.
So question, Doc.
Yes.
Now at this level, can you add a database here
Yep.
and it automatically goes to Azure?
Yep, you can do that because you're already connected to the server. So if I right click and say new database, you can even run a script also, just like a regular script. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you slow? Come on, slow. All right. So I call this database a sales database, right? Owner, everything is grayed out. You have very limited options on this. But because Microsoft says you don't need to worry about that, we'll take care of it for you. Compatibility level. Let's say you are creating the database for an application that uses a different compatibility level. Just go ahead and change the compatibility level for you. Even if you don't do it, Microsoft, when the application tries to connect, Microsoft will check the compatibility level and adapt it for you. Click OK.
Check.
And right now it's deploying the database in Azure for you. Once it's done, it's a little bit slow. Which location did I select? Central US location. Yeah. Not expecting this to be slow because it's late at night. During peak hours, it can be a little bit slow because a lot of people are using it. That's really slow. I should have selected a different location.
Did you select Africa?
No, I selected US Central South location. That's the most expensive location in Azure anyway. I really don't know how Microsoft charges that based on location. Is it maybe just based on demand and so on? So you can see here the database has been created, right? It's always we can connect to it. We see the database. Now, if you go to Azure right now and refresh, we're still on the server. If you refresh, right now there's no refresh button, so I might just have to click somewhere, home, and then click the server one more time, and then it's taking some time to show up here. But let me just go to resources, and then refresh. It's still not yet there. Will eventually pop up. Server. You see, now it shows up. You created on-premise, it's showing up because you are connected to it. And it took by default the general purpose service tier. Now, if I go to this database right now, because it's general service tier, you have the option to change the retention period, backup retention period now. So if I go back now, for example, I go to the server, I go back to backups. This database is automatically backed up when it's deployed. But now if I select this, I can go to configure retention period because it has a different service tier right now. I can literally say, keep it for 35 days for me, apply it, say, okay, it won't fail anymore. You're going to take the database offline, you see it's 7 days, take it offline, change the retention period to 35 days. And with the general purpose, you have the option to keep the database up to 10 years. Now you see, it's done. So if I refresh this, maybe I should get out and go back. Backups. See, now it's 35 days. So which means you can do a point in time restore up to 35 days on this. Now, if I click on this database and I say this database right now, go to
delete.
No, I don't want to delete it for now. I'll delete it later on. Okay, so this database, let's just go ahead and delete them. Actually, we can delete these databases. So we right click on these databases and we remove. No, so I can have to go here, for example.
There's delete databases right here.
Yeah, resources, and I'm going to just delete these two databases. No, not server. I want to delete the databases. If I delete them, delete. Say tab yes if you really want to delete. Yes, I want to delete the databases. Delete them. You see, I did not take a backup, right? I didn't take a backup of these databases. I've just deleted them. I created them and deleted them. Okay, now, can I bring them back? That's the question. Well, the answer is yes, because the moment a database is deployed in Azure, a backup is automatically taken. So once these databases are deleted, I will show you guys that it's resources. Let's see if they're still there. Oh, they're still there. So this notification tab, okay, now it's done. Notification tab tells you what is going on, the status of whatever deployment you're doing. So if I go back here and resources, refresh, why are they still showing up? They'll be deleted. Databases, for example, I type here databases. Future line, you see that they are no longer there, right? The databases are gone. Oh, cell is still there. Why is it still there? I thought I deleted it. Some time to time. They're no more there. The databases are gone. So we no longer have those databases. The server is still there, but with no databases. See, there's no databases on this. But because if you go back to backups now, you have this option here that says deleted databases, right? If you click on it, but this one will give you the option to restore the database up to the last point the database was deleted. Why is it not showing up? Am I just too fast for this guy? All right. So, SQL databases, they're gone. Manage backup. So you see there's nothing here because we didn't do it manually. So, but if you go on delete the databases, they should pop up here. Why are they not here? That's kind of strange.
Just a quick question. How do you check your balance?
Check your balance?
Yeah, how do you monitor it? If you want to monitor, like you just want to, is it possible for you to set up like you don't want to spend more than $20? You just put it there.
You can do that. Under we have what's called budgets. You can set budgets, and on the budget, you see I have a couple of budgets, $300, $350. You can add a budget and you define what the budget should be. For this particular period, I don't want to spend this amount. And then you monitor. Once you get there, an email will be sent to you.
It's not gonna stop by itself, or you're just gonna receive an email?
Yeah, we'll get an email. It will not stop. We'll still use it. Keep using it.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. I'm kind of surprised that it's not. The databases should not. It should. All right. So if I go back to the server, for example, and the databases were on this server. So normally when you click on deleted databases, they should pop up.
Doctor.
Yes.
You were at the page and I saw recent this thing and I saw those databases there. I'm not sure what.
Oh, here? No, this is just showing you most recent resources that you if you try to click on it, it tells you the resource not found.
Oh.
Yeah, but it's just taking some time to populate. Generally on delete. There you go.
Oh.
All right. Okay. All right. So you see now the databases that were deleted are here. All right. So I just deleted them. I didn't take a backup, but I can literally just click on the database and restore. When the moment you click on it, it just asks you to restore, and it's restoring it to the last point the database was deleted, and it's on the server. If you have multiple servers, you can select this, and it's telling you the restore point in time is when they were last deleted. Here, you don't have the option to do point in time restore. If that is what you want to do, just click OK. Someone comes to Azure, mistakenly delete a database for you. Just come, click on the server. Click on deleted databases, look for the one you want to, click on it, and restore. Click OK. As simple as that.
What if the same person went there and deleted? Is it possible for you to retrieve it?
If what happened?
If it deleted from where you just went.
So on deleted databases, you cannot delete from there. It doesn't give you an option. The moment you click on top of it, it doesn't give you any option to do any action. You click on it, it's restore.
Yeah, there is delete over there, up there. Oh no, it's not. Okay, it's just restore. Okay, I see.
Databases is restore.
Oh, okay, I see.
Right? Yeah, because it's just like on your computer, you have how do you call it, bin, right?
Recycle bin.
Recycle bin. When anything that goes to recycle bin, the moment you click on it, it gives you the option to restore it back. So this is how this also works.
So what is the retention period for the deleted databases?
For this deleted databases, it's 7 days for the basic one. And whatever retention period this one had, that's what you also have for that.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So this is how you can create a database. You can do a restore of the database that has been deleted from Azure and bring it back. This is still running. Once it's up, you will see it. Okay. Now, what if I have a database on-premise that I want to bring it to Azure? What are the options to do that? Now, this is still my on-premise instance. If I expand that, let's say I want to bring this database to Azure. There are so many different ways you can do it. You can do what is called a backup and restore. You can do export a data tier application directly to Azure through a backpack file. You can also do a restore to a storage account. I'm going to do 2 examples here. I'll do a backup and restore. I'll do the backpack file method through a storage account and restore in Azure back. I don't really have that much time, but I'll do only one. I'll do only one example. Okay, so let's say we have. We need to bring this one to Azure. So we right click on the server. This is on-premise. And on the task, you have this option here that says export data tier application. You also have this option that says deploy database to Microsoft Azure directly. So if I click on this, let's take this one for example. You can deploy this directly on Azure. Next, now the database name is Houston, and you can connect to Azure. So it says connect. I'm putting the same instance name and I'm putting the password. Okay, we take com 2020 exclamation mark connect. Now I'm connected to Azure, and you can select which database pricing tier you want this database to have: basic, standard, premium, data warehouse, business critical, or general purpose. Now let's go with standard. Now the service tier, you can select any of these, and this one will define the number of DTU that the database will eventually have. This will have a temporary file stored on this location for you on your local machine, which is, it gives the same server name .backpack. So this is more like a backpack file that you are exporting directly to Azure through a backpack file method. The name is.
So you must have a server in Azure for you to
do this. That. Yes, you must have a server already there, because you can see it's connecting directly to Azure. You can't do this without a server. All right, because you're connecting to the server. So you have to pre-create the server, connect to the server, select which pricing tier, and then click next. It's very simple, guys. Not really complicated. That's migration. This is migration to Azure. Migrate database from on-premise to Azure. So if you're talking about this in an database sales, here we take, it's not currently available. What did I select? Did I select sales? I missed something. Hold on here. Where's this error message? No, this is still deploying. Okay, let's do it one more time. I think I missed something. So let me do with this key we take database. Task, deploy database to Microsoft Azure. Next, connect.
Dr. Dennis, how do you monitor it? Let's just see when you do the migration. Is there a way for you to monitor, to see the progress, like to see like how many minutes?
No, you can see it through. Okay, I'll show you that. I'm going to show you that. Just give me a moment. So this is the server name, right? I guess it's scary server 001, the database, the windows.net, okay, cluster admin, and the password. I will take .com 20 exclamation mark connect. All right, I'm leaving this basic for now. Next. Oh, I know why this failed, because I did it this afternoon. All right, this on that location, that database is already there. I just need to maybe go there and delete it, or I just use a different one. Let me use the database that's not yet there. This one, for example. It's either I go and delete it, or I just use a different one. So deploy in Azure, next, connect. Here we take.com. So in this location, this is where it is. If I go there, I will see that the database are there. Using basic, next. Okay, now this is different problem. Server this is not currently available. Why is it failing? The server is available. Why is it saying server is not available? Okay, so you know what? Let me actually go in on portal. Okay, the one is done. What is done? Fully restored. Let's go back to the server. And this is the name, right? I'm copying this name, and I will do it again. Task, deploy, next, connect. I'll put the name here. That's the same name. So authentication, password. Okay. Function mark. Right. Okay. Next. It worked quite well this afternoon. Why is it giving me issues? That's one way for you to do it. When we click next, finish. Okay. Server is not available, currently available. Try the connection later. Well, I really don't know why the server is complaining the server is not available. The server is available. All right, so now if this is giving me issues, let me try the other method. which is I can also go and do here, export data tier application. Next, I want to save it directly in Azure. And then here in this method here, you are also doing a backpack file, which means you need to already have a storage account. Right now, we don't have a storage account, and it's very easy to do that. Let me just quickly go into Azure and create a storage account. To create a storage account, you come up here and you can go back like I started, create a resource, and then go down here. You have storage, click storage, and I just want a storage account. So I'm going to just select a storage account, and I'll just use the same subscription. The storage account name is, let's call it KTech, call it, here we storage. Storage account 2 can only be lowercase, and it tells you want a standard or premium. I want to select the same location, South Central US location, the account type, generation V2 or V1. Here, replication type, you have read access geo replication. There are 3 different types of way of creating a storage account. This one here offers you 9 nines of high availability. This one gives you 12 nines of high availability. This one gives you 16 nines of high availability. So that's 99.9999 16 times, you know. So this one just simply means that the data gets written 3 times on the same location. This one, it gets written 3 times on the same location, and then it goes to the different location and gets written again. And here, the secondary location is not readable. This is the same technique, but you have read access in the secondary location. So if I select this and I go to networking and I say I want to have all network, advanced, everything looks good here, review. Oh, what is wrong here? Oh, that group, I didn't use that. So let me go to Tuesday webinar, storage resource group, network, everything looks good, review, passes the validation, and I create. Okay, why this is creating, I can go back home and go to this account. The databases that we restored are back here. See? It's the 2 databases that we got them from deleted. If you go to deleted, they are still there. There's one thing you need to know in Azure is that Azure does not override an existing database. You cannot override an existing database in Azure. You can only restore it with a different name and then rename it after. You cannot override it. So that's one limitation. Okay, so you see that the databases are there through the restore. Here I'm trying to create this, move this database now to Azure while this is happening. So now we created a storage, we're creating the storage account. Let's see if it's done. Okay, it's done. The storage account is done. So if I go here and I type storage account, I see that I do have 1 storage account. If I click on it, there's nothing, but there's one thing that's called containers inside storage account. Containers are just like folders. So I can create a container called backup container. So that will keep the files for me. Backup container, I'll make this available to everybody. It's a backup container. I'll create this container. So it's there. So I've created a storage account and I've created a container. So I can come back here, and if I'm storing this to Azure, I connect to that server in Azure. And they ask me the account, and I need, so it picks up my subscription in Azure, and I can literally just pick up my storage account and my container. See, blob storage container. It picks it up. I click OK, right? It looks good. Now the container is this. This one as this the same database name .backpack. So it's exporting this as a backpack file. So click OK, finish. Hopefully it works now. So it's extracting everything and moving it to Azure as a backpack file. Remember, there are 2 different ways. You do the backpack file, and when it gets to Azure, it's a backpack file, not in the database. All you need to do is import the database to Azure, and you have it there. That's it. And there are 4 different ways you can do this. See, done. So if you go back to Azure, to this is the container. If you click on inside the container, you see that this is the database that we just exported as a backpack file. So right now, it's not yet a database in Azure. It's just a backpack file. But now, if I go back to this server, I see that I still see two databases. Now, if I want to add the database, I can import the database to Azure. Now, I click on import. It will ask you, where do you want to bring it from? I want to take it from my storage account that I have called Kiawe Storage. Inside a container called backup. And there's a database that I exported called msqldb.backpack. I click on it. I click select. Select. And we're good. It tells you this is the account name. Let's put the password. kiawetech.com 2020 exclamation mark. Okay. Here you could also change the pricing tier and all those kinds of things. So it's right now it's exporting the database to Azure. Once it's done, you have migrated a database from on-prem to Azure. As simple as that. Now, if this database that is in Azure, you want to bring it back on-premise, right? You can do the same thing. You right-click on database, you right-click, you can go down and say import data tier application. The other time was export data tier application. I click on import data tier application. Next, I connect to Azure again. I have to connect, connect. Select account, I select the container, click OK. Azure is so easy, guys. I told you guys, when you learn Azure, you wonder why SQL Server is that difficult. But now, it's not going to work because you cannot override in Azure. So I need to maybe call this one new. Azure cannot override this database because I already have it here. So, and it's telling you where your data file will go to and where your log files will go to. If you want to put it somewhere else, you can browse. It will browse from your computer and it will tell you, okay, this is where you want to save the files. Right? I don't want to do that. I'll just leave it in default location. That's it. Next. Finish. So this is where you monitor you ask, how do you monitor the deployment, Bryce? This is where you see it. That's the only place you see it. You can see it here, so it's successful. You see it, and this is the database, we just brought it back on-prem. So we brought it from Azure back to on-prem. We took it from on-prem to Azure, from Azure back to on-prem. I
want to know if you're working and they ask you like an estimation of how long it's going to take. How long
are you going to restore is going to take?
Yeah, let's just see if you try to have like maybe 20 gigabyte or 30 gigabyte. And if they want to have like an estimate of like maybe like the downtime, how are you going to manage to get that time?
I think, let me see. I think that's also here where you can, activity log. You can go on activity log actually, right? The activity log, it tells you, but this doesn't really tell you how long. It just tells you probably what is going on, how long it's been working. It doesn't really tell you how long it's going to take. But this is for databases in Azure database. But if it's an infrastructure as a service, you can run the same script when you're doing a restore to check how long it's going to take.
Also, I want to know, in the company we use like Azure, do they have like their test environment in Azure or they have their test environment on premise? I want to know like.
Well, if they're using Azure and they have just Azure databases, so platform as a service, they will just have a couple of databases and say, okay, this database is dev, this is dev, this is state, this is production. Because you don't have, either they can create a server, like right now I only have one server, you can create multiple servers and call this dev server.
Now, I'm talking about when it comes to the cost. What is it? Which one is cheaper? Like, if you want to do like, when it comes to like the test and the dev environment, like.
Well, if the environment is purely Azure, you will definitely have to deal with the cost in Azure But if it's a hybrid,
have you seen my chart?
yeah, testing environment will be on-premise. They'll test on-premise, and whenever they are done with the database, they send the database for you to deploy to Azure. This is actually what I did this week. I had a couple of databases that the testing environment is on-prem, and the guys needed to do a database refresh. So all I need to do is go to Azure and do a backpack restore on-prem and have them work on the database on-prem.
How do you deal with like the user? I believe, or you still have to deal with like the open user if you do like.
No, that's one good thing with this one here. That permissions here, you have permissions in Azure. What we call you have here, we call it Azure Active Directory, right?
Okay.
Azure Active Directory. You can create an account. So that right now there's no admin, so I can set an admin that will manage this for me. So I can set an admin for this. So let's see, it will check to see, okay, who are those that, this is the account I'm using. So no, this is not the account I'm using. This is the student account. Let me look for the account. This is the account I'm using. No, this is not the account I'm using. Dennis, here we. This is the account I'm actually using. You can set this account and the user is there. You select and you say, okay, this is going to be the admin. You save it. So after that, you can now start creating users and assigning them different roles in Azure. For example, let's say I want to create a user to assign a user to this. All I need to do is, if I go on access control, I can click on add a role, add a co-administrator. I can add a role assignment, right? And I say, these are users, I've already created them. I say, okay, I want this guy to, you know, the role I'm going to give you, I'm giving him a reader, database reader. And where am I assigning it to? I'm assigning this user to, for example, virtual SQL Server, let's see, Azure virtual machine, for example.
I think that's the role. The role is for the server, right? I know.
Yeah, that's the server role. That's the server role. But let me see. Let me go. Hold on here. Let me discard this for now, and I go to the database itself. Databases, so resources. Now let's take this database, for example. This database, and on this database that I have here. So I have, let's see here. Oh, where is that found again? Activity is overview. Okay, so what you have to do is, before you do that, what you have to do is you can create Azure Active Directories, for example, and okay, I set a user, but here you have the option to create multiple users. If I log on with an account, now set this one as admin. If I log out of this and I log back as an admin, I will give me the option to create multiple users, and I can then assign them directly to the database, right? And you have them. So once you have them on the database now, you can do the backup and restore without having to deal with any permission issue. All right, so I just have 5 minutes. Let me just quickly show you guys how you can create a virtual, how easy it is to create a virtual machine in Azure. To create a virtual machine, same thing. Go to create resource and go down. A virtual machine falls under compute. You can select compute, you have virtual machine, or you can just type up here, virtual machines. If you click on virtual machine, it says create a virtual machine. Now I'm just going to create a virtual machine here. I'll select the same resource group that I'm using today. The virtual machine name will be VM, just call it KTech VM. All right, KTech VM. So just call a virtual machine KTech VM virtual machine. And the location, I'm selecting US West location. The availability set, these are all, we can select availability zone, availability set, all these things. Let me just take a zone and I'll say 3 zones, which means this database gets replicated 3 different locations. And here, look, it's asking me for an image. You can literally go online and tell SQL Server, I want you to give me a virtual machine that has SQL Server 2019 already installed. I don't want to do the installation myself. Just give me a virtual machine that has SQL Server 2019. And it gives you a list of all of them. This one is a Web Standard Enterprise Generation 1. This is SQL Server 2019 Enterprise on Windows Server 2019. So we are creating a virtual machine that has already SQL Server 2019 installed on it with SSMS, everything. So I select this image. It's an image. It picks up everything for me. It picks up the VM that I'm creating will have 4 cores, 28 gigabyte, right? Hope you guys know that we no longer call it gigabyte, it's gigabyte. And it's going to cost you roughly this per month. The name, cluster admin as a login, password. This is beautiful stuff. And then inbound port, I have to allow inbound port. And then I go to digs. I just have to create digs. Which type of digs do you want to use? Premium, standard. Premium are most expensive. This is the most cheapest. Also slow, I'll go with standard SSD. And encryption, if I want to enable encryption, yes or no. Manage digs, yes or no. Next, network. Do I want to create a network? Right? Remember in this cloud, when we're creating virtual machine, we had the option to say internal switch. Put everything on internal switch. Here, that's very simple. Just select a network. Say, I want you to put it on this network for me. If you don't have it, Microsoft creates a virtual network for you. It's going to create a virtual network called Tuesday Webinar RG_ VNet for you. It has an IP address assigned to it. It creates a public IP address, and that's it, management. You can tell SQL Server, this VM, I want this VM to shut down after these hours. Every time after 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, please shut it down for me and send me an email. Next, we go to SQL Server configuration. I want to use both SQL Server authentication and Windows authentication. It picks up the same username and the same password. Do you want to enable Azure Vault integration? This is much advanced. SQL Server creates these digs for you. See, 1 terabyte gigs for the SQL data, 1 terabyte for logs gets created for you, and a temp DB which uses a local SSD drive, and that's it. You can save also for the 3% if you bring your own license to Azure. And patching, automatic patching is already enabled every day, Sunday at 2 o'clock. Azure does this for you. If you want to change it, you can click on change and select a different day you want to do the patching. And either disable it, enable it, however you want it, and you can set the maintenance window, how long you want this to happen. I'm going to leave the default values. And then that's it, review. Just see how short it is for me to create a VM. Compare this process to what we did in class. Now we're creating a virtual machine in Azure. In less than 10 minutes, the virtual machine is up and running, and you can log onto the virtual machine just like you log onto any ordinary virtual machine that you have on-prem. That's how beautiful it is. You bring up a brand new idea in the afternoon. In 10 minutes, you have a virtual machine in Azure. You only pay for the time the virtual machine is running, and when it's done, you delete it, and you're good. You only pay for the time you use the virtual machine. You can test. This virtual machine is going to cost me $307 per month. But if I use it for the entire month, but if I'm using it for 1 hour, it's going to cost me roughly 12 cents per hour. So you can see that with all this, Azure, it really provides a much flexible environment for you to do deployment, testing, and so on. All right. If at all this virtual machine is finished before the class ends, the class is over. I'm going to stop here. But for those
is it possible to script script it?
Sorry.
Yes, you have the option to script it. For example, virtual machine is deploying. You have the option here, template. Right? It gives you a JSON template that you can use this to script this one out. It tells you everything that will be saved. You can save this template to your library. If I click save to library, I can give it a name called KTech and all right.
So if I don't, so next time if you want to play again, you just come, you run it, then
Yes.
we just
You don't need to go away. And this is the description. This is VM for KTech environment. Right? That's it. Okay. Click save. It's going to save that for you, that template. You see template save. Later on, if you come back here and you type template, for example, template, you see all your templates saved here. You can redeploy them. So this is still deploying. So, all right, Clovis, you had a question.
Yes, doctor. This is so beautiful and so important. And the speed at which you have taken this thing is like, I don't know whether I should be angry or I should query you or what. And it's free. Doctor, please, can you make this available and teach us? Give us as much as you have. I am craving to know this thing. This is my passion. I'm just grumbling here since because the speed is just too much.
Yeah, the speed, I know the speed is a lot because I'm recording the video. So I'm going to send out a video for all of you to make your own notes on it. Like I said, this is an introduction to Azure. I have an Azure class that runs for 6 months. You can't learn this in a couple of hours. This is just to help you when you get confronted with an Azure question interview, you should not be completely blank. Right?
Please give us information about the classes that you're offering. I'm just hearing it now.
Oh, you guys don't know I offer Azure classes?
No, I didn't know. Maybe others knew.
Well, I do offer a Microsoft Azure classes that run for 6 months. The next class begins June 1st. The one that's going on right now started December 1st. It's still going on. It's not done. So it's finished June 1st till December. But in there we do everything. It helps you, it builds you. The syllabus is designed for you to become a Microsoft solution architect. Because it's not just, Azure has so many different things. You can just learn to become an Azure database administrator, which means you just want to learn how to do backups, restore, migration, and so on, without going to all these kinds of things. But in this class, we do everything from deploying virtual machines, providing solutions to the company, what type of solutions you have, storage, VNet, connecting VNets, do all this, manage everything that you need to do in order to provide solution to the company. And that's exactly what I do here. Most of the time, my current job right now, I really don't do this thing myself. We have meetings, and the plan is, what is best for this company? What do you think we can do? And I tell them, okay, we need to do this, we do this, and then we have teams that are doing it. The network guys will go and create the network. The storage team will create the storage, and these guys will do this, and we'll bring a whole project together live. And this is all you do. And that's what the program is all about.
Thank God I'll be talking to you on the phone tomorrow, so I'll get you.
Can I add something too, Doc?
Yes, please.
Okay, so guys, basically, what this is just like you said, this is just an insight for you to have a little bit of understanding of what Azure is. I will help you guys in the sense that I'm gonna drop a video, a voice record a video on the group chat so that you guys can use that to be able to answer a little bit of question in Azure. If you can basically tell them that, let them understand that Azure is not really your strong, you just have a little idea about it because it's a total different application though. So I'm going to drop that voice note in the group and you guys can, acclimatize with that. And with this very video, it will help you. You guys will have a better understanding on that. And you can, when they ask you anything outside Azure, you can just tell them that. Any other thing after that, you can tell them, well, I have not really bridged it enough. I just, the only thing I did with it is just this. You don't have to really know it. Just be very strong on your SQL and then just tell them you have an idea of Azure in case if they throw that out there for you. Because most companies, when you get there, they will eventually have to train you in because no company wants you to come in and incur major debts. Just like Doctor said, you just need to understand the basics so that you can, first of all, you should know the basic necessities to have an Azure in an environment. Is quite very expensive. So it's not a joke. So, and no company want to hire you to come in and incur debts for them. So you want to know the basics So if you know the basics, you're not an architect yet. So if you know the basics, it goes a long way. It just throws a little bit of light, you know, because we do have one of our colleagues that actually got a job in Microsoft, Dr. Wright.
Yeah.
And she didn't literally know Azure like that. She was able to also use that very voice notes and, you know, add one or two things or whatever, you know, did her personal research and she got the job. And when she got there, they still gave her videos to watch and all that. So don't panic. This is a very great platform that Doctor has had to introduce to everyone, so you can have an idea in case they throw that question for you. So don't panic, and it's just an additional knowledge, guys. So I'm going to drop that voice note in the group to help everyone out as well. Okay.
Thank you so much, mate. Thank you so much for that. All right.
Doc, are you thinking about me again later?
I've not forgotten you, bro. I told you to call me today. You forgot. You two forgot.
I thought we had an agreement after class.
Oh, the agreement was to do it today. Damn it! This is my. I completely forgot. I even when I texted that, you didn't even remind me, man. That what about plan? I told Galabe that we were going to look through that IDERA monitoring tool today in class, and then we'll wrap up tomorrow with him. But I completely forgot, and I got carried away with this Azure class. Yeah.
That's fine.
So I will connect with you tomorrow, please. I'll have one-on-one with you tomorrow.
All right, but when people log out, if we can look one or two things that are in need for tomorrow, that will help me.
If you mean right now?
For just 30 minutes, no, not much. I don't know if you really.
Let me just sign up.
These guys can call 30 minutes.
Hey, Galabe, I'm not signing out though. I am there.
And they add Jones in front of it. Well,
30 minutes.
I really don't know. Is this something pressing, or I know that people will benefit from it if I have to do it, but really,
yes. The thing is,
yes,
this guy just got up today and schedule a platform meeting for tomorrow for me to walk them through SolarWinds and issues they are facing with some databases and some servers. So I don't know if we can. I try to gather some few, but I don't know if you can add some few lights on what I get.
SolarWinds.
Yeah.
That's DPA.
Yes, DPA.
Okay. And okay, do you have DPA in your environment?
Yes.
Okay.
So I think you stop recording, sir, so we can.
Yeah, hold on. You can see here. Hold on, give me a moment. Give me a moment like that. Hold on.
Galabe, I'm not locking out though. I'm there. Then when people lock out, anyone who wants to lock out, today I'm not going to any overnight. The only next thing that I have to do now is sleep by my wife, so I can finish at any time and I'll still be there.
This guy.
Clovis.
Yes, so.
Please, can I call you?
Yes, I know. Please, I'm really, I'll be grateful. Anywhere I can get
Your wife,
knowledge.
you just say your wife. You just say your wife, and one girl is going to call you.
No, Barbara.
Please text me a number in the chat, please.
All right, I'll do that, Barbara.
Okay, guys. So look at this. Before I give room for Galabe to show his screen, the VM has been deployed. If I go to resource, you can see here that the virtual machine is there. KTech VM is there. It has the CPU, the network, the disks, the operating system, and everything is up and running. If you click on disks, remember when we're creating it, we created 2 disks assigned to it for data and log. You see each of them has a 1024 gigabyte, and they're all premium storage. This one is read only, the other one is none, right? So, but that's fine. That's just for host caching. I don't want to go into that one now. So if you click on connect, for example, you can download an RDP file for that particular VM, save it on your desktop, and you save it on desktop, and you can literally click on it and connect to the VM. This is it. So I can double click on it. and connect. It asks me if I should provide a credentials. I can go here. The credential that I created when I was doing this was a cluster admin, and the password was back. Let's see here, chaotech.com. Okay. It's warning me that I'm connecting to a VM on I can view and then install the certificate. So this doesn't happen all the time. Finish. Okay. All right. Okay. Connect. Just like any ordinary VM that you guys are used to. There you go. How long did it take me? Less than 10 minutes. And I have a virtual machine up and running. So now, the only difference here is just that this virtual machine is sitting somewhere in Azure. It's not locally compared to the one that you guys are used to, right? So this virtual machine you have in Azure, and they're charging you every single time this virtual machine is running. You can see it has a public IP address as here. This is a public IP address that gives you connection to this virtual machine. And it's same. Open here, we have server manager, open server manager. If you click on File Explorer, you go on this PC, the drives that we assign, there you go, SQL data and SQL log. Each of them is a terabyte in size. These are the two drives that we created this VM with. You can partition these drives just like you regularly do it. Right click here, go to disk management. And this is the VM. If you right click and you can do shrink volume and partition it the way you want to do it. Just like any ordinary virtual machine you have running on your environment. You have server manager, everything works the same. Tools, you can install anything that you want. Local server, here it tells you server name, the work group, the IP addresses that are connecting to, everything looks the same. And you can right click, shut down, sign out, restart, disconnect, shut down. Okay, I want to shut down this VM. It's shut down. And when it's shut down, you finally see it on the platform. The virtual machine is shut down. Here, if I go back to resources, the virtual machine is here. And you see SQL Server. Oh, I should have actually shown you guys the SQL Server in the virtual machine before shutting it down. Too late. Too late. Okay. But SQL Server was there. It's a virtual machine that has SQL Server. So you could open SQL Server and see the SQL Server already installed with SSMS, everything installed. All right, I'm done with this. So I'm just going to highlight all these resources and delete them. I don't need them. Yes. Delete. All right, guys, that was it. Let me stop. Garabe, please go ahead and share your screen. Let me stop the room.